Hi, I'm Jake and this is my BMW 120i.
Jake, welcome to Car Observer. Thanks for sharing your BMW with us. Tell us, why did you buy the BMW 120?
Well, I always had a fascination with BMWs. I've always wanted a black BMW with a cream interior, and for me it really stems back to my love for James Bond films, and I've always wanted to be, I guess, a 007.
Okay, so if you could akin this car to a personality, who would it be?
Without a doubt, it'd have to be James Bond, of course, and I think Pierce Brosnan is probably the personality for this car.
Good choice, good choice. All right, well, let's check out the car.
Great.
So Jake, this is the front of the 120. What do you think of the design?
Look, for me, I love this particular model out of all the 120i's. I feel like the newer version, to me, it just doesn't really scream BMW. Whereas this particular design, I chose it in particular because it has that classic BMW feel. And to me, that's what BMW is about. It's that heritage of that BMW brand.
Absolutely, and obviously you've got the BMW badge, but
of course,
the classic double kidney grille. This is the design, I believe, from the Chris Bengal era. So there's a few sort of interesting flares on the car. Some people thought it was a bit controversial, but overall, as you say, it's got that sort of classic BMW silhouette.
You know it's a BMW from that first glance, from the front here. It has that classic BMW look, and really as you look further down into the car, it even becomes more of a BMW, more of a special car, I guess.
All right, so this is a 2-litre naturally aspirated engine, which actually BMW don't use, I think I'm correct in saying, in any of their new cars anymore. So no turbos under here, which is a good thing from my perspective. But what do you think of the engine?
Look, I like it and I don't. And what I mean by that is when you off the mark, it can be quite slow to accelerate. But when you get into your 60s and 80s, by all means, that's when you can feel that BMW engine kicking in.
Okay.
So
it's got quite a nice sound to it, though, doesn't it?
It does. Look, it is quite a smooth ride, and I do love the engine sound. And I guess it goes back to that whole James Bond feel into the car.
Now, before we get too clucky with the engine, I want you to tell me about servicing.
Look, that's definitely the downside of this vehicle. For me personally, the servicing cost is, normally it's quite expensive for a BMW. I have had a few issues with the BMW, and just to put it in context, to even just get this car diagnosed, to work out what the issue is, you're looking at $240.
Right.
So when you're buying a BMW, just keep in mind there's BMW cost.
So especially if you're buying a second-hand BMW, you're thinking, well, I'm getting a good deal, saving a bit of money, I'm getting a Beamer, just be aware that you might be up for some servicing costs.
Exactly right, and even just simple things like this car uses run flats, for example, in terms of its tyres. So, to replace one of the tyres, you're not looking at $200, you're looking at $350, $400. So
right.
Definitely all that associated cost adds up.
It could cost you a pretty penny.
Exactly.
All right, Jake, coming down the side of Pierce Brosnan here, the high shoulder line, very masculine looking car. What do you think?
I love it. Once again, to me, it just screams that classic BMW look.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move around to the back.
Sure.
Jake, what do you think of the boot of the car?
Look, it's one of the reasons why I love this car. As you'll be able to see, it has a huge boot and the rear seats do fold down. So, if you do like to go to IKEA, for example, or you've got a surfboard, there's plenty of room for all those items.
Fantastic. Jake, now we're inside the 120. What does it come with as standard?
So it has a great audio system. This car was fortunate enough to have the Bluetooth built in, which I definitely use with the media controls on the steering wheel here. So it has a great audio system. It has cruise control, which I use quite a bit during my day. All the usuals such as aircon and all the rest of it.
What does it drive like, Jake? How does it feel through the corners, this car?
Look, the corners are great. This is quite a heavy car, so you definitely, from a handling perspective, you definitely feel quite safe.
So the steering is quite heavy?
It is quite heavy. I guess it's one of those things that you get accustomed to, but it does make you feel like you're driving a nice, safe car.
Okay. And what about, how does it ride the bumps?
Look, being run flats, you definitely feel the bumps a lot more.
As the example just there.
Exactly. So, once you're accustomed to it, it's fine. But it does take a few weeks to really get accustomed to.
Okay. Give the engine a bit of a kick. Okay. It has a nice sound to it, but as you said before, it can be a bit slow off the mark.
Exactly. So, look, I'll demonstrate it off here. That's flooring it.
Right.
And
takes it quite a bit until it starts to...
Exactly. So, whilst it drives quite well, off the mark it is a little bit slow.
Okay.
So.
And how do you like the ambience of the interior, the look and feel and the comfort?
Look, this is one of the main reasons why I chose this particular car. When I was looking at buying my car, I had a selection of this one here or a silver with black leather interior. To me, this is just such a classic look. I love the Boston beige leather. It's very comfortable as well. For long distances, this is the perfect car for it.
So Jake, if I was to sum it up, you could say you like the way this car feels in the corners. You like the way the engine sounds, although it could do with a bit more power. The ride's a bit too hard. The question I have is, would you buy this BMW again?
Tough question. I do love it. However, I think I'd actually have to answer with no. And mainly because of the servicing cost. And I think it's a great car, but if you're going to buy a BMW, probably best to buy a brand new BMW, just because the ongoing cost will be a lot cheaper.
What car would you buy next time?
Look, I do love BMWs. With that said, I think I'm going to jump the fence and switch over to an Audi. I'm